Hi everyone, myself Gokul Saradi. Today I am going to discuss about the CPU scheduling of operating system. In this video, I am going to discuss about what is the CPU scheduling and why it is needed and how it can be achieved. So first of all, what is CPU scheduling? The CPU scheduling is the basis of multi-program operating system. The multi-program operating system means instead of running only one program, we use multiple tasks to make it efficient. So by switching the CPU among the processes, the operating system can make the computer more productive and efficient. While in the previous discussed before, the single process system can only run only one process at the time. And other processes have to wait until it gets finished. So all this waiting time is wasted. So to utilize the waiting time, we're introducing the CPU scheduling to make it more efficient. Before diving the topic, now we are going to discuss about some few basics which can be needed for the understanding CPU scheduling. So whenever the process is there in the CPU, it, it has only two states, either it has CPU burst time or IO burst time. So whenever the CPU gets idle, the operating system must select one of the processes in the ready queue to be executed. So the selection button is carried by the one called short-term scheduler or CPU scheduler. The component involved in the CPU scheduling is the dispatcher, the model which is used for the context switching. Other are arrival time. It is the point of the time at which process enters into the ready queue, and turnaround time is the total amount time spent by the process in the system. And the burst time is also known as execution time. It's the time taken by the process for executing its complete. So, and another one is waiting time. It is the amount spent by the process in the ready queue for getting for the CPU. And the completion time is the point at which the process completes its total execution on CPU and exit from system or terminates. It also called the exit time. A formula to discuss is the last of this slide. Types of CPU scheduling. There are two types of CPU scheduling, preemptive and non-preemptive. Preemptive scheduling, the tasks are assigned with the priorities. So higher priorities get executed first before the lower one. And non-preemptive. Whenever this process is switched from the running state to waiting state only because the result of the IO request or invocation of wait function or a process terminates. So whenever these kind of situation happens in the execution of process, it is said to be the non-preemptive. So my first algorithm, first come first serve, which is one of the type of the non-preemptive algorithm. So as the name suggests, it is implemented using the FIFO queue data structure. Says like first in, first out. So we can understand this to looking through into the example. So in this example, you can see that four different processes with four different arrival time. So uh, independent of the those burst times, the CPU executes them in the order of their arrival time. So the first arrival process is PO, and PO is executed for the 5 seconds. Though the burst time is 5 seconds, so 5 milliseconds. So it is executed for the 5 milliseconds, and later on, consider after 5 milliseconds, the later P1, P2, P3 processes are already arrived. So according to the first come first serve seat, so these processes are executed in the order of their arrival time. So P1 will be executed next, and next P2, and next P3. And below there is the Gantt chart, which is the representation of the execution of process. So we can see that for the first 0 to 5 milliseconds, PO is executed, and next at P1 for the 8 milliseconds ended, and P2 for 16, and P3 for 22. Disadvantage of first come first served algorithm. See, as I discussed before, it does not consider the priority or the burst time of the process. So it suffers from the convoy effect. The convoy effect means the process which have the high burst time will be which have arrived before the smaller burst time will be executed for the so much long time so that the smaller burst times we won't get a chance until long processes are released by the CPU after completion of the execution. The next algorithm is SJFS, which is a preemptive algorithm. SJFS stands for the shortest job first. So this algorithm associates with each process the length of the process next CPU burst. It is assigned to the process having the smallest next CPU burst time. So the more appropriate for this scheduling method would be the shortest next CPU burst algorithm. So because of the scheduling depends upon the next CPU burst time rather than its total length. So This one is the very optimal and guarantees the minimum average time before discussed a first come first served algorithm. This can be explained using an example. So you can see that there are three processes P0 to P3 and their arrival times are given here and their CPU burst times. So at the time of initial t equal to 0, the P2 have arrived with a burst time of 6 milliseconds. So first 0 to 1 second will be execution of P2. So at the t equal to 1 second, the P2 has burst time of 5 and P3 has just arrived and has a burst time of 4 milliseconds. So P3 is selected rather than P2 because 5 is greater than 4 and the burst time of the next process have which is ready is the P3 and has less burst time than the previous execution one. So if there is a content switch and they become execution of the P3 rather than the P2. So this is the main key idea for the preemptive scheduling, and for the throughout the execution of all process, this happens very frequently. Actually, the main disadvantage of this algorithm is actually it is practically impossible to the guess or predict the burst time of the process. So it leads to starvation of the launch process with the launch burst time because of the arrival of the small process with the smaller burst times lead to the execution of them rather than execution of the larger burst time. So this leads to the starvation. And our next algorithm is priority scheduling. Priority scheduling can be used in both preemptive and non-preemptive mode. So a priority is given to the each process such that the CPU is allocated to the process with having the highest priority. The priority can be based on those burst time. The smaller the highest priority, and vice versa. As the previous algorithm SJF is a special case of the general priority scheduling. And as I said that there can be two modes, preemptive and non-preemptive one. The waiting time of the process having the highest priority will always be 0 in the preemptive mode, where may not be 0 in the non-preemptive mode. Now let's look into the example. Here we have 5 processes and the 5 corresponding burst times on those priority. You can see that P2 has the burst time of 1 and given priority 1, and P5 has the burst time of 5 and given priority 2. So by this you can understand that those arrival times are different and priorities are given to based on that. So by the Gantt chart you can see that for the first second execution of P2 has been done in within the 1 millisecond. So because of the given priority is 1, and next the later is given to the P5 because it has the priority of 2, and later on this goes like priority 3, 4, 5 corresponding to those burst time. The Gantt chart of the represent are here. Disadvantage of the priority scheduling. So the lesser the priority and the chance of getting the execution process will be less. So there will be a problem in the priority scheduling, which is the interface blocking or starvation. The process that is ready to execute but waiting for the CPU is considered to be blocked. So priority scheduling algorithm can be the inefficient for those type of process which has the lower priority. So it has to be overcome by the another algorithm. The solution of the starvation can be solved using the aging process. So whenever the starvation leads, the lower priority process will be the last. So using the aging process, we have gradually increasing the priority of the process that are waiting the system for the long time by each one or two. So by this we can solve this starvation problem so that in the long run the lower priority process will get the chance of execution rather than staying for the long time without executing. The last algorithm is round-robin algorithm. The round-robin algorithm is especially designed for the time-sharing systems, which will be having the time quantum or time slice, which is the smallest unit of time. Generally, the time quantum will be in the range of 10 to 100 milliseconds in length. Here, in this algorithm, a ready queue will be in a circle queue, and it is always preemptive in nature. If the CPU version of the current running process is no longer the one time quantum, then there will be the context switch because it is not completed within the given time quantum or time slice. So there will be context switch, and then they will be executed for the next process which is ready in the ready queue. Then CPU schedule will select that process unexecuted. Here is the example of the round robin algorithm. Here we have three processes and the burst times on the order. Here the arrival time of the all process are at 0. Here we are assuming that time quantum is 1 unit. So in the given order, the P1, P2 or P3 are executed in order. So for the each one quantum, P1 will be executed for the one quantum and P2 for the one and P3 for the one. Later there will be, as we discussed, that reticule is in the circular reticule. So then these are again repeated in circular manner such that P1 comes again first and P2 and P3 until those all processes are executed. Here we can see that those P1, P2, P3 has waiting time of corresponding to 4, 6 and 6. Average waiting time is simply the average of the three waiting times by the number of processes. Yeah, there are some disadvantages of the round robin one because it also leads to starvation of process with the larger burst time as they have to wait for the repeated many cycles. So we can see that whenever the process has the larger burst time, it has to be executed more times. So the more the number of context switches, then it has to wait for some time because of the remaining process. So the performance of the process will be commensurably depends upon the time quantum because the smaller the time quantum, the faster the cycles, and the larger the time quantum can lead to the starvation of the other processes. So actually, it is a good argument to discuss more about the disadvantage of the round robin. At first, we are now going to discuss the formulas, which are more in type numerical problems for those different algorithms. So here we have three formulas. Basically, those are fundamental, and the main one is turnaround time. Actually, it is the completion time minus arrival time. And another formula for the turnaround time is the burst time plus waiting time. And the waiting time equal to turnaround time minus burst time. By using the third orange box formula, we can easily get waiting time and burst time and turnaround time. So these are the three formulas which are frequently used in solving those algorithms. So it is the end of the lecture. Thank you.